Slackman, an editor at Fence, and thank you all for being here, and welcome to the final reading of Fence's season of the Segue reading series. Thank you. I'm happy to be co-hosting this evening with Brandon Downing and Kathryn Cowles, two writers who, in their individual practices, use visual and textual collages of American detritus to explore taboos of our culture, and in doing so themselves. Thank you to James Sherry, Lonely Christopher, Jay Gaunt, and everyone at Segue and Artist Space, and my co-curator, Emily Wallace-Hughes. It feels serendipitous to be here as Fence Book celebrates 25 years. We have an ultra Fencey series, or have had, this is the finale, including Fence Book authors throughout the years and Fence contributors, many fence sitters in every which way, and ways not yet birthed, through to today, the season finale. So you know, we won't have an intermission, but you're welcome to step out to the bathroom if you need to do so. And if you're watching online, we hope you'll donate $5 to Segue, because all proceeds will go to the readers. And so we have Brandon and Kathryn's books at the table 2 over here, as well as Fence issue number 42, and we're grateful for your support. So to introduce our readers, please join me in welcoming my co-curator, Emily Wallace-Hughes.
Hi everyone, I'm Emily Wallace-Hughes, editorial director at Fence. So before we begin the season finale of Segue, it warms my heart to share that for some of my Rutgers Introduction to Creative Writing students who have jobs and who have difficulty attending in-person events, watching the Segue events on YouTube was their first encounter ever with poetry performed live. And now, it's such a pleasure to introduce Kathryn Cowles. Her Fence Modern Poet series book, The Strange Wondrous Works of Eleanor over here, which we have at the table, is really special, and she'll be reading from it this evening. And I wrote a cento of 2 of Kathryn Cowles's books out of lines from The Strange Wondrous Works of Eleanor, and her first book, Eleanor, Not Your Real Name. So here we go. When Eleanor disappeared, when a tree falls in the forest, etc., poke a peephole through which you can see a flash of movement. Real cutout, 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 real. I am not in the scene, which is a metaphor for which is a metaphor which stands for something you see, but there you see, I'm fine. I'm just exactly fine. Till my compost head makes me sing and my legs fall off green. Today, I say, today, when I'm talking to you, you say, I trust too rarely. I say my amaryllis is growing a 3rd stalk in a single season. Change your own damn name, I tell the landscape. Cut holes, a split cell. Look, I do not believe in confession, but I must confess, holy cow, I am a bruiser. Please welcome Kathryn Cowles.
Wow, that was really fun. Thank you so much. I'm going to do a lo-fi version of there are a lot of collages in this book, and I want to show them to you. So I printed them up, and I have these kind of like waxed over versions that I'm going to hold up and show you as I read, and also read some other more normal looking poems. The titles of all of these poems I should start by saying thank you to Emily and to Segue and Artist Space and all of you for coming out tonight. Thank you so much. The poems in this book, which are ekphrastic poems written by Eleanor, all have titles that resemble museum placards or the titles of artworks. And so the very first one is called Pregnant Belly, Eleanor, 1979-2, Encaustic and Pencil on Paper, 2020. In my pregnant belly was a map of Antarctica, was an Arctic fox, was a white squirrel, was a heart of scratched glass. You could only see the outlines. My pregnant belly was always under snow. I perched atop my pregnant belly like a woman with a child with a bird in its hand. I was precarious. I was top heavy. My pregnant belly had its own heartbeat. My pregnant belly had its own furs, was undercover. Even straight hallways were hard to maneuver. I grew every which way. My pregnant belly had its own elbows. My pregnant belly dropped. Sometimes the snow was really fruit tree blossoms. My pregnant belly cast alarming shadows and had its own grand piano. My pregnant belly had a mind of its own. It longed to visit Antarctica. It kept me away from the ones I loved. My pregnant belly was visible through thicket. I liked to spy on my pregnant belly when it thought it went unobserved. In my pregnant belly was a sea beast, was a sea, was a sun, was an underwater grotto. I perched atop my pregnant belly like a woman with a child with a bird in its hand. The bird tried to fly, but the child held tight. I groaned and groaned. I gave way to a haul. Snow fell, my pregnant belly fell, hand and foot. My legs bent every which way. My pregnant belly opened into Antarctica, into scratched glass. It was blossoms. It was ice. Okay. Here's the first one. It's called Baby Ball, for reasons that I think are clear. Baby Ball, Eleanor, 1979-2, magazine clippings, poem. I feel an internal hinge, a popcorn kernel, a wing flap, feel a breeze, though no air, a leaf bud unraveled, a little latch. I open my little out. I split cells and cells again, and they split off. I am a baby builder. I am a copy machine, can make with my eyes closed, with both hands tied. Can you all see that sort of okay, even in the back? Wow. Cool. Let me jump to. So the book is anti-chronological, and so the dates end up being kind of interesting in terms of biography. This one's called Moon, Eleanor, 1979-2, Oil on Canvas, 2020. This painting has no moon to see in it. This painting has no flecks of snow, no visible stars, no white point. The reflection of the moon has been unlaced from the lake in this painting, and so this painting has no lake to see. The visible night lake was always part moon, and there's no moon. What of moon there is in this painting, one has to see some other way. What of moon there is can be sensed the way tiny night blooming flowers can be sensed beyond the door just before you step into their wall of smell. You can feel the edge of the smell, the green fists of bud uncapping their whole perfume bottles full of flake white paint into the heavy air, a liquid mixed with another liquid. What of moon there is, my baby has in her mouth as she latches me, a hidden white in circulation as suck, suck, swallow. She processes her bank transaction. Oh, blue bowl of white rice, I sense your individual grains. Oh, moon making shadows, but still hidden behind the house. Oh, salt, I toss over my shoulder and feel fall behind me. Oh, wedding veil of salt, you moon, you threshold, you unpack the lake, you bloom onto the face of my baby, and this painting has a baby in it, a baby and a lake behind her that you cannot see. This one, I'm about to go to the Marcel Duchamp exhibit tomorrow. I've seen a lot of Duchamp already, so I'll be interested to see what I haven't seen that's there, but this poem, in honor of that, is after his work called With Hidden Noise, which is like a ball of twine with a hollow core in it, and he had his friend and patron, Walter Arensberg, hide something in it and solder 2 steel plates on either side of it, so that if you shake it, you can hear a noise. Ostensibly, you can hear, they haven't let me shake it yet, but I assume that you can still hear the noise, but Duchamp is dead and Walter Arensberg is dead, so no one knows what it is. It's called With Hidden Noise. This one is called Hidden Noise, Eleanor, 1979, 2, wood, cloth, paper, twine, thread, furniture, building materials, body, 2012. I wrap my miniature miscarried baby in fine white linen, then fine softest red wool, which I wrap in a miniature box of thin wood, the kind with a one-way track and an invisible catch that slides into place, then snaps shut forever and forever. And I wrap the box in packing paper and twine like a gift. I suspend the miniature package with red silk thread over my side of the bed so my miniature miscarried baby and everything I've wrapped around her can haunt me properly. Then I cut the whole bed, chest of drawers, wingback rocker, mirror, painting on the wall, and the walls themselves, the whole room out of my house, and put it up in a room in a museum where I go to sleep at night, leaving traces of myself on the things in the room, hair on the pillows, new dust made out of my skin, and alchemizing my small suspended package into something new, something entirely other than what it was. Okay. I'm going to jump to this one. It's a little wrinkled. Self-portrait as useful domestic item. Eleanor, 1979, 2. Magazine clippings poem, 2014. Use this nozzle for small messes, this tube for larger, this buffer, this scrubber, this shiner and gauge, this super deluxe dusting brush, telescoping wand, retractable power cord, yes, 50% more suction, complete with separator, tenderizer, burner, and cookie press, egg beater, and ringer washer, and headlight. Did I mention it's self-propelled? Really just another arm to have attached to my own arm. You see now how I am the useful kind of multi-purpose tool. Okay. And this one is called Self-Portrait as If, Then, Eleanor, 1979, 2. Magazine clippings, poem, 2016. Yes, I am new sharpened, am on edge, but if I hold my arm right here, my legs just so, if I just keep my face exactly as it is, there you see I'm fine. I'm just exactly fine. And I always like to point out that I try really hard not to, I do all of my collages physically, I don't do digital things, and I try not to change things. But this one, her arm was cut off right there, so I added an arm in from another lady, and I made it like a little extra long because I thought that would be like that kind of like warpedness. But then I was looking at the image and trying to figure out how she was originally positioned. Like she can't really be positioned like this, but then like she can't be lying on her stomach because her dress would be flat. So I don't know if anyone has a theory as to how this pose is possible. I would love to hear it. Okay. I'm gonna go backward to, so there's a kind of a larger, I think of it as a mini chapbook in the middle of the book, and so it's like a series of collages that all go together, and it starts with it's called Self-Portrait as Empty Woman Shape, Eleanor, 1979, 2. Magazine clippings, paint, poem, 2016, and it has an epigraph from Robert Duncan's famous, "Often I am permitted to return to a meadow, where from the shadows that are forms fall, where from fall all architectures I am. And it goes like this. The women are cutouts of women, of real women. The cutouts are real, but they are not real women. They are real cutouts. Real cutout, real cutout, real cutout, real cutout, real cutout, real, real, cutout, cutout, real, cutout, cutout, real, cutout, cutout, real, cutout, real, cutout, real, cutout, cutout, A woman is a cutout of a concept. Either she fits or she doesn't fit in the original shape. Either she's willing to be put back in the paper or she is not. She is not. You can cut new women out from the shape. You can cut many new women, but then you see you can't fit us all back into the shape. The shape changes with the cutting a little each time, so the woman cut most recently can't cover the women cut originally, and vice versa. No one can cover anyone. No one can cover anyone, the rules of cutting being such as they are, and physics, and the empty woman shape is the opposite of a cover. The real women, or rather the women from the real photographs, are long gone or gone off to a completely different shape. The shape of real women is completely different from itself. It can't cover you, let alone time. Better off to go cut yourself out of it. Page left intentionally blank. Okay. I'm gonna read a kind of a funky one that I don't usually read. It's a little on the long side, but it's like a little smart alecky and other things that are like me. And it's called Supplement 2, Eleanor, 1979 2. Isn't it weird that Eleanor was born in exactly the same year as me? I think that's such a coincidence. Cardstock and ink, 2020 to 2024. And there's a hanging note for this one, because it takes place over time. Each printed phrase is to appear on its own placard. Each placard is to be hung directly under the regular placard of another person's art piece, free of charge, with or without the museum's permission. And there are some quotations in here, but I'm not gonna indicate it. But there are some like little long dashes in between each placard, and I'm gonna raise my hand up like this to indicate a new placard beginning. So it goes like this. The art piece started out as a painting on canvas before it veered bodily, grew up and out. It weighed in the end more than a ton. The collective weight of all these small, bright, cellophane-wrapped candies is the same as the weight of the artist's lover just after he died. To move the art piece from the apartment took complicated mathematics. 6 workers and a forklift had to cut open the very wall. This took the artist 7 years. This took 10. Go ahead, eat one. Yes, she said, cut whatever you want to from my clothes, just sat there. The art is some combination of the sitting and the cutting. The art piece is crashing imperceptibly into the wall with the help of its enormous mechanism. You can't see the crash moment by moment, but come back next month and its whole front will be smashed flat. The sitting might seem passive, but after all, one difference between passive and active is sheer length of time. The art piece started out as a column topped with the death mask of his child. Soon the artist covered over it with architectural features. The mask was still there, of course, deep underneath. In the end, it probably slowly killed her to make the art piece, full as the layered paint was of lead. Tomorrow, the museum will add more candies to the stack. Think of it as a corpse that's part flower bed. The art piece started out in a single room, but soon enough took over another, then soon enough took over the whole floor of the apartment building. She added and cut away so that day by day it differed from itself. Each new version a complete version, she said, but never quite what she meant to be the outermost layer of paint. Think of it as jungle vegetation, ever covering and uncovering soon as you turn your head. The art had a life of its own. The cutout figures collapsed their layers into flat black silhouette, all surface, because with silhouettes, you can't quite make out which part belongs to whom. What you see is what you see. He found he needed still more space for the art piece, cut a hole out up to the balcony. Then what is emptiness for? To fill. Each hidden layer a secret part of the surface of the work. Yes, in time, the bombs destroyed the whole building. Yes, he burned every art piece he had made, baked the ash into cookies, put an obit in the paper. Yes, he inventoried every single thing he owned, shredded it all up in a public display, then threw the garbage sacks unceremoniously out. Didn't feel right to sell to some museum. Think of the zero sum as the art. Because the actual art happened 10 years back, 20 years back, because what you see is merely the tail end of anything. Although this machine looks like it's broken to pieces, it worked very well at its original purpose, which was to break itself to pieces. All we have now is the photograph. And he chainsawed through the whole house's shell, split it apart from itself, let the light come through. She made a concrete cast of the Victorian house's insides before its great final tearing down, an interior death mask, a turning inside out of its layers. Because he never really stopped making the art piece, even after he fled, carried the idea like a shell on his back. The artist himself did not know what was inside the art piece. He had someone else put the thing in and solder it shut. All that's left now is the noise it makes when you shake it. Think of the noise as the art. And now he himself is dead. In the end, they rebuilt the shell of the art piece, the very outside layer based on the photograph, but sans desk mask, completely empty on the inside. And it looked mostly the same. And it was not the same. The art piece is not the geometry textbook, but the wind that blows through it. The art piece is not the glass, but the light. The art piece is not just the spiraled jetty, but also the lake now creeping ever away. And so the single art piece contains within it the entire life and death cycle right down to the worms. A fine wind is blowing the new direction of time. A famous artist's drawing used to be on the paper, but it's gone now, mostly erased. Think of the gone as the art. Okay, let's see, we are to this one. Self-portrait as mythological figure, Eleanor, 1979. 2 magazine clippings, poem 2023. I am on the move. My mind is attached to my body at the hip. My hip is attached to my hand. I use my hand to write. I yes, my yes. I have found the good light. I am looking myself in the eye. I have free use of my limbs, and look how very forward I can go. Okay. I think we are to this one. This is the first poem chronologically in the book, but the second to last poem in the book, and there are just 2 more here. This one's called Clouds, Eleanor, acrylic on canvas, 2005. This is a painting of a woman. She is naked in her kitchen. I paint her some clothes, a dress and a long sweater with a belt, some high-heeled boots. She is still cold. I paint her a winter coat with a woolen collar and expensive gloves. The gloves are red cashmere on the inside and soft black leather on the outside. I paint her hands into the hearts of the gloves. I paint the new red rug leading out of the kitchen. I paint the whole apartment. I paint the door. I paint its thick locks, its gold chains. I paint its layers of paint. I paint the outside of the door, the peephole, the hallway with its hotel carpeting. I paint the wooden stairs and the mailboxes. I paint the stoop. I paint the bicycle tied to the gate. I paint the length of the street, and I paint in trees. I paint a leashed bulldog walking the length of the street. The bulldog turns a corner. I paint the corner, the whole city block, and the next block, and the next. I paint the thoroughfare out to the sea. I paint the whole downtown. I paint the cityscape as seen from a fishing boat 3 miles out. Airplanes circle through clouds in the sky waiting to land. People sit in tightly gridded configurations in the airplanes, reading and hurtling through space at unthinkable speeds. This is a painting of the people in the airplanes. This is a painting of clouds. Okay, and here's the last one. It's mostly images, light on words, and it starts with this. It's called Self-Portrait as Device for Flying With, 1 through 9, Eleanor, 1979-2, Magazine Clippings, Poem 2024. Cut holes into my own shoulder blades, and there they were, wings. Stood to the side of myself and pulled a split cell. Left behind a copy, husk. The only way out was to step to an edge and see, to step out past an edge. To angle my chin away, veer off to look, another whole sky. Thanks so much.
Let's have another round of applause for Kathryn Cowles. So next, I'm delighted to introduce Brandon Downing, author of many books, including The Shirt Weapon, Dark Brandon, At Me, Mellow Actions, and Lake Antiquity, which we have at the table here. You'll also find his work in Fence number 42, which we also have. And I'm about to read a cento that I wrote to introduce Brandon. And here are the sources. So the first one is Double Vision, Foreigner, The Poe Scholar, The Americans 20, The Holy of Holies and Officiating High Priest at Hell Gate, some lines from the book Lake Antiquity, and then a few lines from each of the poems in Fence 42, Sonnet, The Shooter, Sonnet on Buoyancy 1, and then lastly, Sonnet on Buoyancy 2. Cento for Brandon Downing. We see again the potency of reality. It is the stupidest name for God. We ought to just disappear in a flurry of double vision. Your meaning? Living and partly living, but intenser realities, no. Here is the mention of you as the magic-ridden projection, electroforming and sewn together, outspread. I'm sorry, but I am sometimes bantering, you know. You have access to bleed a great deal around an active Christian experience. Dried ointment upon a cross of gold, called the octopus. Some of its eyes were put out. This is a sentence. I do not think I disappear by the light falling, the narrative like American coffee. Welcome, Brandon Downing.
Now, I'm not entirely sure that I know what accento means, but a lot of those lines sounded really familiar. So, could you explain that to me later, maybe? Yeah. Okay, so this is about all that you're going to see of me, because very soon I'm going to turn around this microphone and I'm going to read off the screen. But, so maybe, and I'm also going to be fussy for a second. Could we get a little bit lower on the lights, maybe? Can I swing the microphone around, maybe? Can I turn on my stopwatch, maybe? I can. Well, let me start off by painting a picture. The sentiments I'll be revealing in this reading are not ones that are only my own. I will be stating things that are very obvious and were probably troubling to a lot of us. In March of 2020, March 9th of 2020, I moved into a weekend house about 100 miles north of here, 4 days before the entire world kind of shut down during the pandemic. What did that do for me? In a way, I was kind of overjoyed because I had this newfound isolation, we all did, and I hadn't really played around with pictures in pictorial language in quite a long time. So what that did is it gave me a lot of room to play. So I had this little tiny house and this little studio out in my garage, and I was making works and I was goofing around. So let's go on a little walking tour of what life was like for me, the first few months of 2020. I'm like, hey, let's play around, let's make pictures together. I can't communicate with anybody in person, so let me communicate digitally. Let me send pictures around to people. Let me just sort of goof off and have fun. The country was strange, right? George Floyd, Black Lives Matter, the bleach and whatnot, but it was still somewhat of a life. We were just all sort of separated. Islands in the stream, that is what we were, right? There for a minute. So I was making poems, having a good time, goofing around with texts. Maybe I'll just read this one real quick, just to show to illustrate the change in tone that comes on. This is a poem called "Know the Moon." All the text on the right comes from the left. Have you ever noticed that we always want rocket ships to take us there? Yet the full moon is like the ear, small as it is, even with less of our body in space to blur the details. This is the side turned toward the sun. At other times, it is a great enough thing. Sometimes it is a silver circle on one side. Oh, to be a bowl of fire. Yet the moon has no light of its own, always dark, and its shape seems to change. It was a long time ago, but I will show you how uneven and mountainous the moon's surface is. As in, you have never even seen the rays of the moon, so you have a big thrill coming to you. And then, January 6, 2021 happened. And I, probably like many of us, was completely filled with nausea. This is something does it feel too soon? I don't know. It completely took over my life. It completely took over my body. It completely controlled and piloted my nausea. And I decided that I was going to devote this spurious, fun, free studio time to an in-depth investigation of who we are as a country. So I decided to start a project called, I'll tell you what it was called in a minute, but I'll read a little bit of it here. This, I think I wrote this the day that George Floyd passed away. But he too starts from the big deities. It is a strange, almost grotesque blend of old and new. As each individual man dies, he has to be artificially fed. The dull, melancholy death and resurrection. I know it will emerge more clearly in the sequel. I wonder about it, this notion indeed, which is to treat them as though they were the same as when they were alive, which is manifestly, if hideously, appropriate. America. This means that I rely on America now with frothing mouths, grenades in hand. I grasp it like a lath of metal, like a peculiarly destructive American gay man. So obviously, thinking about who Americans are, who we are, and what are we doing, I was also feeling, as many of us were feeling at the time, that sense of, I don't know, daily stupefaction of what was going on in the planet. So I was imagining what Americans would be like, I don't know, on Mars, for example. I thought about how baldly forward the American dynamics of economic power had become, and how they were sort of dictating everything that we did. So I decided to title this project The Americans, name-checking Robert Frank's great 1958 pictorial survey of us. And I worked on it for about 5 years. And some bits of it are still going on. Of course, now, things are much better in this country, right? We've kind of worked through our issues. We came into an equitable sort of covalent agreement between the government and its people. And it's difficult, right? It's never easy, but we're kind of moving along, right? We're moving forward. I'm not going to read this whole poem, but I'll read a couple bits of it. Did you get a good enough look at it? You are welcome, Doom, as you do not know me, and as you know me, but have never seen my face. Say what you come to say. Forgive us, which should be obvious. We have seen some serious throwing down, scaly wings of a stupid, lunatic thunder. What a shock on the skull to it. You and me are close by. Do I leave you to take the shape of a wolf among wolves? No. It is not I who can be cooked and eaten. They are coming back armed. This is what I have heard. All my life they have been coming, these businesses. I fear for their permanent possession of the pattern of time. We have been afflicted with what? The peace of this world power. And I thought about what we were doing with power. I thought about how we as a country denigrate, we dehumanize, and we unalive the people who help feed us, who help us everything. We dehumanize and unalive our food itself. We dehumanize and unalive food itself, period. What is going on with America? You guys won't be able to really see this on the screen, so I've broken up this poem into little digestible, visible chunks. But how about that rocket's red glare, huh? Oh, the prices paid by her American people. On the day she felt well, she died. In the radiant face of the subject matter, straight from the dark old manifestations of the United States. While she could do the horror story from within the American Academy, there is this feeling that she has too much body. It is too close. We see the sexual consequences for and against her as transcending in the American edition. To half understand and half laugh, to be something of a sensation, the sense of horrifying discovery, the supernatural everything, even these long scalding jets of steam, are all externalizations of psychic life through the use of stillness as a form of pauses, magnificent against the flaming sky in the United States, now merged with America, where it makes atmospheric, sweet content. The American editors were not wrong. They all demanded darkness that lights up from within in the American edition. And I was sick there and then, but to no avail. She is like and unlike anything else now in the United States, where she could know and not know and be published in American magazines, just like I should be. All this went on at her house. This little scene, her shadow ran across the shadows of the burnt old White House. End poem. And I've been thinking, or I was thinking then, and I still think about it now, about this unilateral American fantasy of dream life and sexuality and mineral terrestrial extraction. I don't know, I think about it. This poem is called Second Sight. It's also in close-ups. It's also known as Le Triomphe du Buffalo Bill. Second Sight. The darkness that reigns from some high place, please help me explain it to the reader. This rider has been tied with ropes and chains many times in many different cities, and most often to the American tree, lit up after the manner of a chandelier. The branches of the tree are mounted on steel springs. They constitute the skeleton of the immense shadows. Us, who exhibit in public, but way down in the little shadows of the moldings and other like devices behind the scenes. Have you got it? Please say. The amount of lying you will come across, even in this age of science and wonder. And who do you think that's about? And this is the companion piece to that, called Explanation. I asked for things to be traced back even further. See how the bottom is closed from beneath and the trap is shut up, but otherwise nothing? Yes. Then I decided to cover the story myself, well, until almost total darkness reigns. This forms a light coating, so to speak, of the second sight. I say, come down there from the skylight. I can perceive enormous animals now, and listen, they are no less wonderful. America's behind so many new things. It looks like the bomb has exploded. The people of New York City might suddenly find themselves in a spectral restaurant with the lighting of them that we get from up above us. Maybe a beam of the sun's light will actually fall on the situation in America, like it did with it before. Indeed. Seen by the light. Wow. Let me know the whole story later. This is a poem I wrote pretty early in 2021. I wrote it for Alice Notley, who obviously did a lot of great writing on all American women. And this poem is called Early American Women. If you could see a picture of what happened in the last 1,000 years in the United States, you would probably be surprised. If they are frightened, they might be able to do a little better in the southern part of the country. All of the things happening to them, they became lost, they do all the work, but someday I think we will understand it better than we do now. If the sexes are so different externally, probably they are useless. Very often they make crowding, temperature, light, sex, light. Every year they did the same thing, going up and down hills. Too much energy. Of course, it kills some of them, or maybe they will travel a little. I wish I could tell you. It has suddenly become cold and rainy, and there's no one to pull it along. Now his wife can go off and have a good time with her neighbors. Does anybody get this picture? Was anybody alive during the 1980 Olympics? Except for you. I know you were alive, Charles. I was alive. Anyways, it's kind of a joke, sorry. I'm not going to read this, but it's in Fence. She read the good lines from it anyway. I'm not going to read this either. But I am going to read this poem. This is called The Poet 4. You can't see it, but you should be able to see this. In the poet's function is to be seen as the thing that makes up the supernatural theme. It is for reflecting and hoaxing. The point is literary intelligence and poetry, the poetry of our sex and what happens next. I have given fairly complete accounts of suffering to pass through the supernatural stream of modern literature. I am grateful for much generous financial support. I think it might be partly to see a notorious murderer acting supernaturally remarkable, to be homosexual, as if a gigantic blazing light had gone up, for example, but without success for him and his poetry. For the old forms of desexualization, my shadow returns as a mincing little transport, because we have been over that invisible cloud and back. I did not know that I was upon the roof of my own life. In the story, educating the monsters is simple and various enough, but it is static. It knows a great book stands behind it. It belongs to those whom he characterizes as white Americans, the impotent old baby from the bad, low place. We come to understand well how much worse things have grown. He has dead things all around him who take a comic view of him, like the mythical outlines around the naturalistic person. The blatantly reactionary poetry of that. He thinks of the life force like some kind of insect, one that has been smashed. The pyramidal pattern of all light there in the past, and the death of its ghost like a piece of printed matter. And that is the first false ending of this reading, because I want to talk about Americans a little bit more. I mean, but we all love our country, right? I mean, more or less. Like, I mean, it's complicated. But, okay, I just wanted to, I'm sorry. I vacillate personally, you know, 6, 7. The present moment is astounding. It's okay. It is just the intensification of life as it is. I am thinking I might have to go. We tremble, and the people caper home. I fear that I do not really transcend anything. If I do not get a little bit of fun soon, I shall die. I was not like them. I was like my own obscure designation. And now that there's this shocking union of beautiful, brilliant, self-destructive, thirsty young people with monsters who are on chemical fire and who they cooperate with, but in great surprise and dread by opposing each other. No psychological insights. But then shit, what can I say? They just published the volume separately with an interval between them. The once favorite country is entirely different now. There is a new, well-deserved history of his patriotism as he understood it. Hereupon he casts about for more illustrious revenue. It's called Trump. It is a way of penetrating and feels unequivocally horrible. I mean generally, as I've heard and read. I don't think that I make artwork for the real world. I speak like a novelist. I am writing the wrong, shocking opening sentence. Thanks to the editors, I was up all night. I have given fairly complete accounts of this shit. All of you were gazing up at me. Okay, and that's the second false ending of this reading. Because I thought I would maybe read something a little, well, I don't know if it's funner. Everything's kind of dark out of me. But I also got really into, I love discovering new old teaching materials. And I came across these great Franco-Belgian pictorial history flashcard stickers. Well, you'll see. And I decided that they were a good shape, a perfect form for haiku. So I thought I would write, I've written about 10 or 15 of these in the last year, or last 9 months. But this one was a little New Yorky, so I thought I would read it. The whole conceit, which you may or may not get, it's fine, is that they're all individual haikus that could be read top down, left, right, whatever, but they hopefully make some sort of logistical sense top down. So I'll read these little 16 haikus real quick, and then we'll see where we stand. Take, for instance, home, had it been properly made, leaving charred remains. No one knows where to project moving pictures. Is it possible? It resembles snow. Now laugh at the little hoax, the cataclysm. Now with the light thrown out. This is the way I am made. Look at my framework. These lights are red, white, and loud electric blue lamps. How astonishing. Holes in the stars. Look, they returned automatic, staring at your eyes. The lights in blackness, easily explainable. All is ready. Can you help me, man? The spectacle is shocking. I'm just going off. The sun consists of a box and gives the earth light. So, fuck the United States. Let it be the glow, the mutilation of the United States coins. They can, that is true, do such feats of contortion, beautifully lighted. The rays would suppress, not with the electric light, unfathomable. A gasoline fire, the sun-rising effect, its inner edges touching. The streets of New York, down on the open streets, without him or her. What did you feel as I printed in the center? No hesitation? In New York City, obtained from the street circuit, my triumphs of art. Let's get interactive for a second. Would you guys be into maybe looking at a couple more of these haiku slides, or would you like to watch a really, really mind-numbing, stupid American film that lasts for 3 or 4 minutes? Honestly, show of hands if anybody has a preference or not, or I'll just do stuff. Do stuff? You know what? Let's show the movie. Can we kill the lights? Can we kill the lights and make it loud? This is actually a 15 or 16-year-old video, but it just sort of seemed to fit the day and the reading.
Please close your eyes at this time.
In the name of the Christ, I God, and the gate of thine, the victim of the God of the resident is by the time, and the seed of the son, and the name of the Christ, and the make of the nation on it. And I call the victim of light, and life, and I want from each of the opportunity of me to destroy on Afghanistan, Pakistan, Nicaragua, South Africa, Panama, Canada, Poland, El Salvador, Canada, all going to receive the second of world communism. In the name of the beloved, mighty, and the God, I am the my very sons of all mankind, for the bloody condition of Amazonium, the 11th hour, the entire city, the 11th and the world mother, elemental life, fire, air, water, and earth, high degree of the abundance of life, each of the masses, my virgin, and every sign of the inner retreat. Together? Oh, look at these men, I am a child of love, come into my being, my mind into the love. Like a father, letting me bow, God, vision you, did you mean me now, to the light of the love. Purifying, God, my being, brother, I could see, come me in the power, real to me now, with all this hill. I ain't gonna dig a two, give me good to do the all the benefit and son, with the light on the one. Oh, I could use the men, and he said, I'm here, and I'm going to go the way, another man, he's the one who gets the lighting. Like a father, letting me bow, God, vision you, did you mean me now, to the light of the love. Purifying, God, my being, brother, I could see, come me in the power, real to me now, with all this hill. I ain't gonna dig a two, give me good to do the all the benefit and son, with the light on the one. Oh, I can eat it, take a dog, give me video overall, like a drive over me, but it's a me. Like a brother, letting me back, I bet you do, did a minute, I mean, now, to the light of the mouth. Here, I come to me, but I can see, come in the power, let me now, with all this hill. I ain't gonna dig a dig, give me good to do the all the benefit and son, with the light on the one. Oh, I can eat it, everyone, grab me with a business, and say, I'm on the power, but you do this now. Like a brother, letting me back, I bet you do, did a minute, I mean, now, to the light of the mouth. Here, I come to me, but I can see, come in the power, let me now, with all this hill. I ain't gonna dig a dig, give me good to do the all the benefit and son, with the light on the one. Oh, I can eat it, I am a child of love, come into my being, but my name is about. Like a brother, letting me back, I bet you do, did a minute, I mean, now, to the light of the mouth. Here, I come to me, but I can see, come in the power, let me now, with all this hill. I ain't gonna dig a dig, give me good to do the all the benefit and son, with the light on the one. Oh, I can eat it, better than I said, if you're gonna go the way, another man, see the money to the line. Like a brother, letting me back, I bet you do, did a minute, I mean, now, to the light of the mouth. Like, here, I come to me, but I can see, come in the power, let me now, with all this hill. I ain't gonna dig a dig, give me good to do the all the benefit and son, with the light on the one. Oh, you can use it all, you can do it all, let me now, with me, but you did it to me. Like, oh, letting me back, I bet you do, did a minute, I mean, now, to the light of the mouth. Here, I come to me, but I can see, come in the power, let me now, with all this hill. I ain't gonna dig a dig, give me good to do the all the benefit and son, with the light on the one. Oh, you can use it all, grab me with a business, and say, I'm on the power, you do this now. Like, oh, letting me back, I bet you do, did a minute, I mean, now, to the light of the mouth. Here, I come to me, but I can see, come in the power, let me now, with all this hill. Right here and now, with all power, Germany's me, all power, the act of ever expanding, and more than one of the law, the holy, and in the light and creed. Beloved I am, beloved I am, beloved I am.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you to Fence, Artist Space, Kathryn Cowles, and all of you.
Let's have another round of applause for Kathryn and Brandon. So thanks again for being here for the season finale of Segue. And next for Fence, we've got the launch of Fence issue 43, where we're having a pool party in a house with a backyard in Hudson. A friend of Fence opened up their house, donating the space. So that's June 20th. You all are invited. And there will be Poets Theater in the pool. It's going to be Poets Theater in the pool. Yes. And with Tony Torn, who guest edited a Poets Theater feature in the issue. So we'll have swimsuits, snacks, and we'll have rides from the train station also. So look out for that. It's in Hudson on River Ledge Drive. Yeah, you're all invited. And then next for Segue is Poetry Hell, June 6th at the bar Home Sweet Home. So we'll see you there too. Home Sweet Home. Thank you.